that's nice. So did they put some of their clothes on him?
Yes, we got his off of him and put some of theirs on him, so that...
Oh, that's neat. How deep would the water have been right there?
I have no idea. I just know that it was a traumatic moment for a brief moment.
Sure, sure.
But the change in his brothers and sisters
was quite abrupt.
Yes.
And we might as well go on with Todd for just a minute. How about the story about Todd's blue suit?
Oh. Again, Todd would probably have been about 2.
Oh, that, yeah.
And he was well, it might have been 3, but he was small. And he was a rambunctious little boy that got dirty and all of that sort of thing. But my folks gave him a little blue velvet suit that had a little white collar and little white cuffs, and he just looked adorable in it. And when he got that on, he became a subdued character. He just was ready to be the perfect little boy. And I decided clothes did make a difference in how children act. That if they feel very dressed up, they're liable to act more dressed up.
So did he wear that did you go to church at that time?
Yes, he was at Sunday school going to church
outfit. Well, how special. Was that true for any of the others, that they behaved differently? With fancy clothing on, or nice clothing?
Todd was a little more to get into things than the rest of them.
I see. Very curious.
Well, yes, and he was always curious, yes. He wanted to find out what made things work, and he was always into something. Like when we put the back of our home on. I'm sure that somewhere there is a cup in between the walls, because I'm sure he had it and we couldn't find it.
Oh, I see.
But yes, then while they were doing that, they would want a saw, and they'd say, "Where's the saw?" and couldn't find it, and they'd say, "Where's Todd?" So that's the way things went.
I see. Oh, that's a little bit like my father's joke yesterday of finding Johnny. Where's Johnny? And what's he doing? And tell him to stop whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
Mama, let's see. Lee and Todd did a lot together, and one thing early on that they did, I guess, was mainly Lee's fault, but what about the incident of dropping a rock on a passing car?
Yes, we lived on a hill, so that our yard was above the street, and they dropped a rock on a neighbor's car as it went by. And of course I blamed Todd, because I think he's the one that dropped the rock. But I found out later the whole idea was Lee.
Oh, I thought Lee did the actual dropping, Mama.
Well, maybe he did.
Mm-hmm.
I was not there when
Oh.
that happened. But I know at the time I blamed Todd. And it wasn't Todd's fault at all.
Now, what was the consequence?
Well, really, the neighbor was very gracious.
Oh, that's amazing.
She had boys, too.
Oh, my goodness. What was the damage to the car?
I don't think it was anything great.
That's
It was
amazing.
just the idea that it could have been.
Sure, sure.
And
How dangerous a thing. How old were the boys?
at that age, they were probably about 4 and 5.
Oh, okay.
They were old enough to know better.
Now, did they both get a spanking, or?
You know, I really can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Lee and Todd, I did spank, but I can't remember spanking them so much for what they did as for the fact they would get, well, Lee would go like, yeah, 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 and Todd would get furious.
You sure it wasn't the opposite? Wasn't Todd the one who would tease, and Lee was the one who'd get bothered?
Well, that might have been. And all I know is that I would say, you two make me so angry, I've got to hit something, and it's going to be you. And, and you can just remember, this is for teasing and for letting it bother you.
So they both got the
So they both would get a
consequence.
swat.
Oh boy, well, glad they finally became good friends. While we mentioned Lee, do you think you could tell about his measles encephalitis episode?
Yes, he had the measles, and then he began to run a very high fever, about 105. And at that day and age, a doctor would come to the house.
Wow.
And
Now, how old was Lee at the time? 5 or 6? Or?
He wouldn't have been, he would have been about 5.
Okay.
I believe he was in kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor came to the house, and he tested him, like he took his head and put his chin on his chest. And I told the doctor he had had his Salk vaccine, which was...
The polio?
Yes, the polio, which I think we had maybe given in
Orally?
Orally.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor said, I'm not testing for polio.
Mm.
That what he had was a meningitis that follows measles. And that he gave him, I think it was called maybe oromycetin, and he said that he had not lost a child.
Good.
Since that. But he didn't tell me anything beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
So Lee got better. The only thing was Lee had toed in badly.
When he was a baby?
When he was a baby. And we had put him in what they call a Dennis and Brown splint, which held the little feet out. And I thought, oh, he had he had had cramps in his legs up to that time, and at night. And I thought, oh, this is going to be bad. But instead, it held his legs and he no longer cramped.
Oh, how nice.
And it pretty much straightened his little feet out.
Wow.
But when he got the encephalitis, his little feet turned back in again.
Oh, dear.
But when he was in the first grade, he was very sensitive and very prone to cry. And his teacher told me that we needed to take him, because he was too intense, we needed to take him to see if we couldn't get something to make him a little quieter.
Some medication, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
And I explained to her that he had had encephalitis and that we had him on a tranquilizer. We also had him in a little brace that went around his waist and twisted around his legs to pull his feet out each time he walked. And it just had made him so tired.
To have to walk against all the muscle cramping.
And the tranquilizer, he just was sort of a limp little boy. And the doctor, whose name was Dr. Hartman, who was a bone specialist, said, let's just take him off of everything, see he gets a lot of rest. And so I told her that, but like at Christmas time, the room mothers wanted to have a pinata. And she said, no, I have one little boy that much excitement and that much competition would just drive him up a wall. So her nephew, who was a doctor, came and she told him that she had this little boy. She didn't know what to do. And he competed against himself and thought he should be perfection. So when he had any problems, he cried. And her nephew said, she said he had encephalitis. And he said, well, how is he mentally? And she said, he's the brightest child in my class.
Wow.
And he said, you tell that mother to thank God and see that it gets lots of rest. And so I went to a medical dictionary to find out about encephalitis. And I found out that if a child lived, they were bound to be a vegetable.
Oh my.
And I thought, aren't I glad I'm so stupid and naive that I didn't know all this?
Didn't know how close he came to being a vegetable or passing away.
Yes. And so, but Lee had the problem of being very liable to cry. And when he cried, it made him mad, and then he cried more.
Oh, a vicious cycle.
Yes, because he didn't want to cry, and it made him...
Then did children tease him in that?
I'm not sure whether they teased him or whether he just felt self-conscious about it.
Yeah, I don't remember him saying he was teased much, but if any, but.
Well, he was always so bright.
Mm-hmm. So he was probably respected.
But the kids were, he had one very close friend,
Mm-hmm.
and that was Mark Naylor.
Oh, yeah.
But he did not have a wide circle of friends until he got into the band in high school.
Oh, right.
And in the band was a unit,
Mm-hmm.
and they were all very close.
Oh, yeah, he talked, I think that whole experience was just really important to him.
Yes.
Mama, I'm going to pause it for just a minute. Okay, Mama, why don't we stay on Lee a minute? You said there was a story, we were talking at lunch, about Lee in the mountains, and I don't know what that's about.
Now I have to think. Turn it off a minute.
Okay.
Well, it was when he would not have been very old, probably 5 or
Wow.
so. And when we would go to the mountains, we would go and pick up pine cones and wander around in the woods. And then there were times when I would think, just which direction am I going to get out of here to get back to where we never wandered so far that we were really lost. But Lee always knew what direction to go.
Wow.
And I could go his direction and come out right.
Yeah, Lee's still good at that when we go to a town, a new city on a vacation or something. He can navigate really. He gets
Well, he knew pretty much where we had come, and he would
just find the way back.
And that would be with the 3 little ones that I would usually be with when we did that.
So let's see, Mama. I think I would like to go back in time, maybe to. Do you want to tell about Linda's birth, maybe, or are there any early experiences there with Linda?
Well, Linda, we got to the hospital, and it was a weekend, and it was during the war, so they were running a little short-handed.
On nursing and doctor's staff?
Yes. And with Linda, I did not get extremely large. So I think they wondered if I really meant business. But they gave me something to sort of relax me and keep me quiet while they had other things to do. Now, when the water broke, I got up and went to the bathroom, and I made a little trail, and I got into the bathroom, and I went to sleep. Well, Lowry went to get the nurse.
In the bathroom? Oh.
Lowry went to get the nurse, and she didn't observe all of what had gone on. She just came in and got me and told me to stay in bed.
Oh.
And so I did. And when I told Lowry that I thought the baby was coming, he turned on the light, and it didn't work.
Oh.
So Linda came unassisted.
Wow.
Under the covers.
Oh,
and
my. Just slipped out, huh?
Yes, and I informed Lowry that the baby was there. And he went to get a nurse fast, with me screaming at the top of my lungs, Lowry, And the maternity ward was on the second floor.
Uh-huh.
And they heard me downstairs. The head nurse met Lowry on the landing and said, what is the problem? Lowry said, Elizabeth says the baby's there. Her name was Miss Smedley. She came running into the room, threw back the covers, and Linda by that time was a wailing waif. And she informed us we had a beautiful baby girl.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh,
So,
that is incredible.
and Linda never she never was friendly to the doctor.
Oh.
And he said he didn't blame her because he wasn't there to greet her.
That's a good story. And what child likes getting shots and things?
And when he knew that Mark was on the way, when Mark was getting imminent, he said, I'd like to be in the ride from Globe to Miami.
Now, did Mark come out as easily, Mama?
No, he did not.
He was positioned differently or something?
Well, it was just a different
pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, tell about how Mark looked when he was
Well,
born.
I
You
thought
were
he
mentioning-
looked like Churchill, and he had a fat little body. He drew his little legs up on it. He looked just like a little frog.
Oh, so he was the cutest little boy too, right?
He was.
Just a beautiful
Yes.
child.
They often took Mark for a girl. They often took
Oh.
Linda for a boy,
Oh my.
but that was all right.
Well, she probably had little hair like most babies. Is that?
No, she had nice hair,
Oh, she did.
but she was a much more sober baby.
Oh, I see.
And
Interesting. Huh. Well, are you inclined to tell about Linda's fracture that she had?
well,
Maybe?
that was when she was in first grade.
So we're moving back up in time.
Yes. And she was on the playground, and I do not know how she fell, but I know she fell, and the playground was asphalt,
Oh.
and she fractured her skull.
And so she doesn't remember how she fell?
She might.
You're not sure?
I just don't, I do not remember. I just know that, now she had had milk to drink. And I just know that she and Mark walked home from school, which was quite a little hike for little folks.
At the regular time, or was she sent home early?
No, it was at noon. And she went right into her room and lay down. And Mark was the one that told me Linda had fallen. And like I told her, I cannot remember just how. I know I must have called the doctor. And it was his wife that I talked to that told me that Linda could go to sleep, not to keep her awake. Because I thought she probably had a concussion. And I thought you were supposed to keep them awake.
Yeah.
And I cannot remember how long it was before we went to the hospital. And the doctor's office was in the hospital. So we really went just to see the doctor. And he had her head x-rayed and found that it had cracked the skull
And where was the fracture, Mom?
in the back of her head, and the crack had gone away from the base of her skull.
So
And he
up
said
like
if
this, up?
it would have gone apparently away from the base.
Mm-hmm.
If it had curved in, he said it would have been very serious.
I see.
The way it was, she was in bed for 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Now, why was that? Did she feel that badly for 6
No,
weeks? Or?
no, but I think they
Just-
think that's how long it takes for bones to knit well.
And they just didn't want the fluid
Yeah.
coming out, or
Now, in the meantime, somebody caught something. And Linda got it, but it all went well.
Good. Is this when Linda became such a reader, Mama? Do you think when she started to love books?
I don't know. Now, I read to the youngsters
Oh yeah.
when they were little, and so they just took to books.
Mm-hmm.
And when it got to where were the 3 little ones, Todd did not have the interest span to listen to the stories. And so we came to an agreement that if he wanted to sit on my lap and listen to the story, he couldn't knock the book out of my hands. He had to sit quietly, but that yes, he could be in the 3 of them. He didn't have, but if he didn't behave himself, he just went to bed. And so night after night, Todd went to sleep in my arms while the other 2 listened to the story.
So that worked? That system
That worked. Mm-hmm.
So Lee and Mary pretty much concentrated pretty well? And
Oh yes, they loved the stories. And they would play games like Sorry and, the games kids play. Todd wanted to play too. He'd play just a few minutes, and then he would flip the board. So, we had little problems like that. Todd those were not his forte.
Mm-hmm.
And,
That's interesting. What different personalities you have had in your 5 children.
yes,
Yeah, do you have, sorry, go ahead, Mama.
Todd was more of a hands-on kid.
Yeah. Although he became kind of a reader, didn't he? Have quite a collection of books. And
When he was in high school, he had an English teacher who, that Christmas, Todd asked for thesaurus. Is that the one
a
that?
thesaurus? Yeah.
That was one of the gifts he wanted.
No kidding.
Yeah, and Todd began to be able to.
Really?
Things he was interested in.
He could really read up
When
on
Todd and Lee had the same 5th grade teacher, and neither of them liked her.